Professional real estate photographers often fall across this range, and while intermediate photographers fall across this shorter range, when it comes to those just starting out, beginner photographers often fall in this dangerous area that is a major problem when learning real estate photography, because that graph, also known as a hockey stick because of its unique shape, shows the typical audience retention on YouTube, and that's a major problem when learning real estate photography. It's actually the opposite of the learning curve that we're all familiar with, which was invented more than 100 years ago. And that shows that the more we practice with something, the more we experience something, then the better we get at it. And then we can also get better career growth as we continue to experience. But that is just the opposite of what's happening on YouTube, but it's not YouTube's fault. I'm going to dig into this. I'm going to show how this is affecting some of the biggest channels out there on YouTube that all of us are probably watching, not just mine. But I want to address this issue so that you fully understand it, and then be able to give you some tips so that you can learn better on YouTube or other learning resources as well. The first thing to realize is that dramatic drop is a 30-second mark threshold that YouTube enforces on YouTubers. If a YouTuber can't keep their audience watching, or a good majority of the audience watching, past those 30 seconds, then YouTube says, well, this video probably isn't that important, and I'm going to show something else to the user and try to push that content instead. So in other words, the first 30 seconds of a YouTube video needs to be sensationalized. It needs to have some type of it factor to really draw you in. Now, of course, that makes a lot of sense, no problem with that, but we have to realize that this is YouTube's intention. So YouTube isn't designed as a learning platform. It really never was. YouTube's intention is to get more views across YouTube, and it doesn't matter what the content is. But we can learn a lot from YouTube videos. It's just that we often do it incorrectly, and YouTube isn't really thinking along the lines that we might want to learn something. It's looking at overall behavior that's going to be centric to monetization for their advertisers. So I'm going to show 4 techniques that you can do to learn more out of YouTube video and other resources. But first, I'd like to really demonstrate how this 30-second threshold is affecting a lot of the bigger channels and your learning experience. Take a look at Piximperfect. It's a great channel to learn just about everything on Photoshop. Over 5 million subscribers, but the average views are somewhere between 50 to 250,000 for each one of its new videos. That means only that 5% of people are actually returning to Piximperfect to watch new videos. Only 5%. Flurn, another very popular channel to watch to learn things about Photoshop. 2 million subscribers, but they only get about 10 to 20,000 views on most videos. That's only 1%. And Photoshop Cafe, I love this guy, 389,000 subscribers. He gets only, though, about 10 to 30,000 views per video. That's about just 7% of his entire audience coming back, and that's pretty high. Now, some of this is also because YouTube changed how you're getting notified. So yes, you can get notifications and you can subscribe to a channel. You got to make sure that you actually say all so you get all notifications. But where do those notifications actually come from? So it used to be, just up until a few years ago, that you could get a weekly email or a daily email with all the new stuff that you might want to watch. And I used to do that. And I'd, at the end of the week, go, oh, look at all the stuff I'm going to watch this weekend. YouTube stopped that. They didn't find that it was in their interest to do it. They said that it was due to a lack of interest, but I think it was more of a lack of interest on their part. So a lot of people never know when new videos are then launched. But the biggest thing is, even if you're on YouTube, those videos might not really get pushed to you, for instance, on your video home, if a lot of those videos didn't have a high enough viewer count past that dangerous 30-second mark. This is something that Jack Conte pointed out. He's the CEO of Patreon, and he had a keynote address to the South by Southwest conference in 2024, and he called this the death of the follower. I'd really call this the YouTube trap, but what he pointed out in there is that only about 5% of these subscribers and followers to any type of social media are really a tight-knit community that would really want to learn more. Because what's happened with social media, especially with the Instagram and Facebook effect, we can sit there all day and doom scroll. We're looking at something for 3 seconds, we're bored with it. We watch something for 30 seconds, we might get bored with it. So the question is, How do you not fall into the YouTube trap, or as Jack Conte pointed out and said, the death of the follower? Well, it's really easy. And once again, there's 4 things you can do to that. But first, I did want to mention, this is the reason why so many YouTubers like myself that have tutorial channels on learning a trade, this is why we've gone to online platforms for online courses. Making online courses allows me to provide in-depth learning experiences that are not driven by the whims of YouTube. I can connect better with photographers that want to learn, and I can help them learn skills faster and with more context than YouTube could provide. My courses, they come with raw files so you can practice and follow along. I can update lessons as I need, which you can't do on YouTube. Something changes, something new comes out, I can't change a video on YouTube. On my online courses, that's not a problem. I just update that video, and I do this free of charge to everybody enrolled in my courses. You get all the latest and greatest information. So I can stay current when it comes to the online courses that I provide, and to some degree also the books. Now you might have remembered, if you've been following me long enough, that I first came out with the books that I have on real estate photography, and then just in the last couple of years, I really started building up the courses, and that was just out of demand. A lot of people asking me for that, but also because of this whole YouTube trap. A lot of people would come to me and pay for that private training, and I would see them making mistakes where I didn't teach that. That leads into some of the issues here when we're trying to learn on YouTube and how you can avoid this YouTube trap. The first thing you should do, if you're not going to take my online courses, I understand. If you want to learn just on YouTube, there are these 4 things. And the first thing is, it's called experiential cycling. That means you're going to watch a video, you're going to think about it, you're going to take some notes, and you're going to practice. But more importantly, you're going to do that over and over again. And this is a big mistake with learning on YouTube, is that if you just watch a video, you don't take any notes, you don't try anything, and then when you go out and you try it, which might not be until a day or 2 later, maybe a week later, well, you're going to be missing some things. And then the first time you try it, it's like, that didn't work, and you just give up. But experiential cycling isn't just doing those 4 things. It can be 2 things or 3 things. The main point is that you cycle through it and you try it again, you try it again, you try it again, because every time you cycle through this process, you're going to get better and better and better. The second thing you can do, whether you're watching YouTube videos or my online courses or someone else's, is that you practice what's known as free recall. And free recall is a matter of stopping a video at a certain point and writing down some notes, maybe just some bullet items of the important things that you should learn during that little segment that you just watched. Something that maybe you weren't familiar with, maybe you were, but whatever it is, you go back then and you rewatch that segment of the video and compare it to your notes. Because without watching it and then taking notes afterwards, you're doing free recall. You're trying to remember what it is that you just watched. If you do free recall along with that cycling, where you're going through the experience and then thinking, taking notes, trying it, and going back, doing it again, free recall is a very important part of that. And whether you want to do it through experiential cycling or not, at least the free recall will really help drive home and burn in those points that you want to learn. Number 3, it's a huge one. And when I do private sessions with photographers, I hear this all the time. Actually, I see this all the time, because it's a matter of mixing techniques. Now, there's nothing wrong if somebody has a different technique than what I'm teaching. I'm not going to bag on that. Everybody might have a different way to bake a cake. That's fine. Different way to take real estate photos and edit them. But the thing is, when you start mixing techniques before you've actually practiced them, then what happens is you just get a muddled mess. Step A doesn't match with step B from over here, and step C. So when you start mixing techniques before you've actually conquered each one, then you once again will have a muddled mess, and this will make it very difficult to learn any type of skill, especially real estate photography. So instead, what you should do is, nothing wrong with learning from multiple sources, but you should first take what you learn from one source and do your experiential cycling, do some of your free recall, practice that and see how well it works. Then move on to the second one, the second source. Try all of that, then make a decision later if you want to mix them. Because here's something else that will happen big time. It happens all the time out of this. I see it all the time with these smaller real estate photography channels, and they'll say, all you have to do to be able to do flambient, or all you have to do to edit HDR is this. Well, that's great, and they'll show you something that worked once. but they might not show you how that won't work in other circumstances. So this is something to take to heart, that when you're learning stuff and you're trying to mix these multiple sources, you might be using good resources and you might be using bad resources that work some of the time but not all the time. And when you try to mix those, it just makes the mess all the more muddled. So that's why really nail down one process, nail down another process, or even more before trying to mix those techniques. And number 4, the biggest thing is that don't just binge watch. Don't just sit there watching YouTube video after YouTube video after YouTube video. Yes, I'd thank you for doing that, and so would YouTube, because we all get monetized out of that. But if you really want to learn something, you should take it very slowly. Take one topic, one video, watch it, do your experiential cycling, do your free recall. Don't mix it with other technologies and other techniques. And really try to get that down first. You can bookmark some other videos that you'd like to learn afterward, maybe on the same channel, maybe on different ones. But if all you're going to do is just watch and watch and watch and watch, then you're not doing anything on your experiential cycling. You're not doing anything to really progress. All you're going to do is watch and watch and watch, and then when you try to do something, you're going to have to try to remember it, and chances are the technique won't work and you'll just give up, which is the biggest key when learning anything on YouTube or even courses, even books, is that you don't give up. Learning real estate photography is tricky. Whether you're going to use HDR, whether you're going to use lighting, flambient, each technique does take a while to learn. And yes, flambient does take a while to learn. And so many people give up on that and using flash and the things that I teach in my Pro Interiors course, because yes, it produces very high quality results. But any good product from any advanced skill set will take time to learn. So be patient with yourself. No matter what the skill is, no matter what the video is that you're watching, learn as much as you can by watching it and really try to learn. Don't just binge watch, but remember, the first time you try it, you'll probably fail. But the second time you try it, if you go back and you look at it again, I guarantee you will get better. And the third, fourth, and subsequent times that you keep trying it, you'll get even better and you'll start raising yourself into a higher pro level from where you are now.